So for those who are just coming in, we are doing a survey on menti.com. And the question is, can you understand reality through mathematical logic? And there were three options for us to choose. One is yes, we can understand reality through mathematical logic. Two is no, we can't. And three is we have no idea. So it depends how do we define reality and what is reality. So for the speakers, esteemed speakers who are coming in, we're doing a survey on menti.com of the participants at the conference. And the question here was, can you understand reality through mathematical logic? And the participants, a majority of them, they say yes, we can understand reality through mathematical logic. About 39 out of 81. And about 20 have said they have, 20 have said they have no, you can't understand reality through mathematical logic. And 22 have said they have no idea whether reality could be understood using mathematical logic. Okay, so thank you so much for your participation in the surveys. We will now start with the next session. Okay.
We can see here is the final results of those questions, and this is the one. How do you conceive of reality? 101 number of participants participated, and we got the final result from experiment and experience. That's the higher number. And this is the one another. What's your main expectation from these conferences? And 49 numbers of people are here with to understand new mathematics and spirituality are connected. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. I would like to request, please, let's take us to the next segment.
So our next session, we would like to invite Professor Sudipto Ghosh, Metallurgical and Materials Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. And his topic will be In Search of Top-Down Mathematical Laws. I'd like to make an introduction to Professor Ghosh. Professor Sudipto Ghosh received his BTech, MTech, and PhD degrees in Metallurgical Engineering from IIT Kanpur. His research specializes in mathematical modeling of materials processes, in particular solidification and high temperature deformation processing at different length scales. His significant research contribution has been in continuous casting and casting of bulk nano composites. Dr. Ghosh has recently started working in the area of lithium-ion batteries and material science in ancient India. At IIT Kharagpur, he's involved with several sponsored R&D projects. Since 1995, Dr. Ghosh has been directly trained in the area of science and spirituality by Dr. T.D. Singh, also known as His Holiness Bhaktiswarup Damodar Swami, a well-known authority on Vedanta and science. He has trained more than 30 faculty and scholars at the Bhaktivedanta Institute, Kolkata, and IIT Kharagpur. So please join me to welcome Professor Sudipto Ghosh on stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is that here? Which is the next, for next one? So, yeah, this is the title, In Search of Holistic, because holistic means, taking care of everything, like we are doing here science spirituality, so the holistic is the thing, and top down, and along with me, we have some of the research scholars, Pawan Kumar, and he's from Kharagpur, Dheeraj Dubey, he's from TIFR, Department of Physics, Abhinav Sinha, Abhinav is here, and Professor Devashish Khan from, so we have actually worked this out together, and this is dedicated to my actually inspiration. So in 1995, I actually met him when I was in IIT Kanpur that time. And the instruction, I mean, and the inspiration he gave me to work on the theory of the material elements of which is given in our Vedas and the Bhagavatam. So now coming down, what do we mean by top-down and bottom-up approach? I mean, people can have different kind of their own terminology. So I am referring to top-down law, a top-down law and a bottom-up law. So let us see, a very important thing is this, our existence, you know, there are different length and time scale. So very, very large scale, the universe is a collection of galaxy, Earth. Then you come down, you know, below the microscope. So these are the things you see below the microscope, and these are really only inference. They are smaller and smaller, but they are only inference. Now usually, when we try to understand a physical phenomena, how we interpret it. Suppose somebody is throwing a stone to play with the fishes and the water is getting disturbed. So how you, in the physics, as a physicist, how we'll try to analyze this? A very common, one simple way that, okay, it is my desire and that's a spiritual way, and my consciousness is fundamental and I have this kind of desire and I direct the body, and then, I know, things go like this. But how possibly a physicist will like to see, you say the best way you can describe this is to treat the entire system as a collection of fundamental particles and model it. But unfortunately, we don't have the computation power to do that. So we have to come up with other things. And another level is you see it, your whole body and everything as a collection of atoms and molecules. And you can see it as larger objects, as collection of cells. So you can actually understand the phenomena at different length scale. And usually in physics, we say the most fundamental explanation we'll say is at the lowest length scale. We see the whole thing as a collection of electrons and protons and so on. So it's like this. So, you know, so the movement of cloud, if I try to analyze, you know, then why it is behaving, somebody will say, no, the pressure, volume, temperature of this substance has a particular kind of relation. Yeah, so they have some kind of relation. For like ideal gas, you have PV equal to nRT and so on. Now, somebody will ask that then why the gas, why the PV and T, they are connected in this way? The answer will not tell you that no, it is like this only. This is this is the basic fact of life. You will not say like that. You will say it is like this because atoms and molecules, they are having this kind of velocity distribution. And somebody will say why, and they have this kind of vibration, rotation, and why they are doing like this. You will not say, no, that's the end of the story. You will say, no, the reason for this is that the electron clouds and the nucleus, they are quantum mechanically interacting like this. Had I the computer power, a very powerful computer which could do that, then I will take this whole cloud and actually I will treat it as a collection of electrons and protons. That is the best thing. This is the general approach. We will never say that something here is a basic fact of the law, or something here is a basic fact of law. So like we say in spirituality, sarva karana karanam. So we like to go to the lowest scale and explain things from there. And then say that, of course, we don't have the computation power, so we cannot do that, but this would have been. So this is causing this, this is causing this, this is causing this. So this is what I mean by the bottom-up mathematical laws. So from here, I generate some information, how the atoms in the molecules are behaving, and from their movement, I come to the thermodynamic laws, and and its behavior, and from there I take the characteristics and to solve for the cloud, and like this we go. By top down I mean it's the reverse. What I mean to say, it may sound crazy, but that the atoms are moving in this way because the pressure, volume and temperature, they have to be related in this way. This is what I mean by the top down. Okay? So that's the meaning of the, so like this. Now very interesting is the fact that if you look quantum mechanics very, very carefully, very, very minutely, the whole philosophy and idea behind is actually the existence of atoms and electrons and things, you cannot picture anything. Actually, we have something called wave function. Wave function is something which is spread in the entire universe. It is a field, just like you have electric field, magnetic field, you have the wave function field. The only difference is it's a complex number field. That's the only difference, but it's a continuum field all across the world. It's not a submicroscopic object. And then what you are measuring actually is a classical inference. So there is actually, very strictly speaking, there is nothing called atom and anything. For example, you see, look here, this is the famous Stern-Gerlach experiment. I think this pointer is not, it's not showing the points. I mean, yeah. You have some better pointer or something. Anyway, so basically, if you look is how we are detecting that this has a plus spin and minus spin. The whole principle is actually classical. The field is classical. We are assuming it to be a classical particle with a spin like this. The whole picture, there is nothing atomistic here actually. So our observations are all done by classical equipments. They follow the classical mechanics, and we are assuming the electron and the particles which we are not seeing. We are inferring only. Quantum mechanics deals with object which we infer. Okay. So we are assuming them to be like a classical behave, and so basically you are starting from a continuum field, and this is also a continuum macroscopic which we are seeing. So in a way, this atomic world is not there. So it's a very interesting, this is a famous statement by David Bohm. Electrons are wave, means it's a field, which is again a continuous thing, but they interact with the observer like a particle. Okay. Now this top down and few other things, it's there in the spiritual traditions. In spiritual tradition, if something happens, we don't say that it is because the electrons clouds were behaving like this, I desire to throw the stone. No, it's that I am a conscious being. It's that the opposite. So it's like the Lord Krishna gives the example of a chariot model, like the soul is there, and you see the hierarchy. So Krishna says the basic gross body, the senses are higher than that, and since there is a subtle part also, and then the mind, and then false ego, and then the intelligence, and then the soul. So it's the other way. And if you look at the Bhagavad model, the control goes like this, the information goes like this, and it also comes like this. So this is there in every spiritual tradition. Why something happened? Because you did a sin like this, and the reaction came. So you don't start with and that kind of thing. So from Vedantic as well as any religious tradition, so if you really have to go further in this science spirituality dialogues and really trying to synthesize them, as was the vision of Dr. T.D. Singh and many others, we need top-down laws in the modern scientific framework also. So now I will quickly tell you, I mean, already our Vasudev Rao, he has actually explained very nicely what the different elements and things are. So I will quickly go through. what are the, as a scientist, when we look at the Sankhya Darshan explained by Lord Kapila, is not, by the way, the atheistic Kapila. There are many, you find people with the same name, that's okay, but he is Lord Kapila, who gave the theistic Sankhya philosophy. He gave the theistic material science, a holistic one, where God is there, living entity is there, and all kinds of, different elements of matter are there, atoms are there. He is talking about atoms, calculation of time from atoms. If you look, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they are talking about calculation of time. So, as a scientist, what I find very, very interesting, so fundamental elements of nature and their fundamental properties defined from their interaction with respect to the consciousness. We are all consciousness, nobody can deny that. If consciousness is not there, then I cannot talk science, I cannot see you, I cannot think. So, it's a basic fact, as Niels Bohr is saying. So, what do you mean by fundamental element? Fundamental elements means you cannot break it further. It is not made up of anything. So, the fundamental elements are actually defined with respect to the interaction with consciousness and existence of many non-local fundamental elements. So, today Vasudeva was explaining that mind, intelligence, false ego. So, these are kind of elements, they are non-local, they do not have any location in the physical space. This is very important to understand. And so, all experience, just like you put your hand in the cold water and you feel cold. So, this cold experience is by the hand, or finally it is by the soul actually, according to the Bhagavad. Or when you are seeing under a microscope, actually finally the eye sees, and in fact finally as per the Bhagavatam, the soul. All experience, conscious experience is by soul, and Vasudeva made it very clear today morning. So, this is the whole picture of this. So, we have this in the top, the spiritual, which actually is the conscious experiencer, and which has all the properties. It can think, it can feel, it can taste, everything. All the experience is done here. And anyway, so there is, now it's a big challenge, because possibly now this has started its inherent, capability. But well, after teaching for 30 years at least, we have some confidence. I will not get nervous like Funny and Pawan. So, but yeah, so there is a subtle, and okay, now, but okay, so there is a very, very interesting thing which, I mean, is very similar to the Plato kind of concept, and which Professor Penrose is also very much pushing. The existence of is similar to that. So, like intelligence is a separate element. Now, how do you look? It's a very simple thing. You take two bodies, like Earth and Moon, and you say that they are attracting to each other by a force. F is equal to mg into m1, m2 by r square. Now, you can interpret this in two ways. One way to interpret is that just like m1 and m2 are inherent property of these two bodies, the force, this relationship m is equal to, so as we are talking like yesterday's play also, and this, everything has an inherent property. Okay, so like consciousness is the inherent property of the soul. Now, this F equal to G m1 m2 by r square, is it the inherent property of these two bodies, or there is a separate element called intelligence which is having these mathematical calculations inherent in that? And according to the Vedantic philosophy, it's a separate world, which has all the informations and all kind of the rules and logics are there. And anywhere in this world, that element is also working. You call it an element, you call it a program, you call it a design, but it's like there is an algorithm, there is a hardware, and there is a software. So you can separate these. So you can think about these two bodies, okay? And Sankhya is so interesting and so deep. They will say the mass is because of some other element. They will say the form and color is because of some other element. The space it is occupying because of some other element called ether. And the ability to move is because of the element called air. So it's very, very interesting. In fact, I have not gone into particle physics. I have no depth, but what I understand, the Higgs boson, they are actually giving some kind of property like mass to the substance. So what we do is very simple. We take this idea and we say that there is a full, you know, like a separate existence called intelligence, false ego and mind. And there is a separate existence from where the physical space starts. It starts because of the elements called ether. Ether is one. When ether comes in, then your physical space is there. And mind, intelligence, false ego, they are actually, they are in the non-locality domain actually. They don't have any physical locations. Okay. Now, something very, very simple, the idea which we are trying to put forward, you look at our body. Okay, we have mind, intelligence, false ego, consciousness. This is a separate thing, and this physical body is there. There is a hierarchy, okay, and there is a to and fro information. And what we are trying to say is very simple. This body, I am not the only this living entity here. The total intelligence is there with me called Paramatma, and I am the living entity, and there are countless living entities in this body. Each cell, you take a cell and you try to clone it, it will become a living organism. So each cell is living entity, and according to Sankhya, even the molecules, even the finest atoms, they have individual lives. So it's very interesting. It's like this whole building, there is one, like the soul for this one living entity, and our bodies are also his bodies. So what we are doing, first we classified the subtle and this. Yeah, I think now it's working. Okay. So we divided like this, the subtle world and the physical world, and this physical world, just treat it as like the whole space, which is like a cellular automata, okay, and each cell in the cellular automata is occupied by an atom. That's okay, I think, yeah. Okay, so I think I'll skip this. I mean, I'll maybe, yeah, so this is what I actually explained, and yes, the very interesting thing is, in quantum mechanics, this separation is very obvious, because when you talk about the wave function is a pure mathematical world. It is not is it a physical field? So that idea is also inherent in quantum mechanics, because when we talk about wave function is a complex number. It is not an electric field. It just has informations. So this idea, and it is very strongly supported by Professor Penrose, so he is saying they merely broaden, let me request such readers that it's from his book, very nice book he has written, A Road to Reality. So every physics student and mathematics student must read this. they merely, actually Dr. T.D. Singh had an interview with him. He brought the book and gave it to me. And he actually gifted me this one copy. So they merely broaden their notion. What we mean by the term existence can mean. The mathematical forms of Plato world clearly do not have the same kind of existence as do the ordinary physical objects, such as tables and chairs. They do not have spatial location, nor do they exist in time. I mean, this is something, his idea. So this intelligence and falsification and subtle, this subtle, I am just separating it out. And well, super consciousness, God, so we have an infinite intelligence. Okay, so I'll talk about it. See, I separated the subtle and this. In subtle, there is a total, complete information bank, which has the entire information of the universe. So it's like a infinitely sized cellular automata. What is cellular automata? It is just like a simple memory variable. You can say it like that. So if you have not heard about it, so those who are in computer science, they very well know many of them. So it's an infinite cellular automata, and then what we are coming to that. Okay, I think another thing which I liked in Sankhya philosophy, and which I am requesting today Dr. Sandeep Kumar and also, that see, personality is something irreducible. I mean, you cannot break it in terms of mass or anything. And so we need a very good mathematics for that. And there is a very good statement by one of the mathematicians. I will show it anyway. So now I come to a very simple example. I mean, we do this. This is actually molecular dynamics simulation, which I do. So it's a set of atoms, and I'm just showing a shearing process. I'm showing a shearing process, and it has, these are 3 nanoparticles. I mean, there are 3 regions I'm showing from a continuous atomic amorphous structure, and which I'm subjecting to shear. And this is what, I mean, this is work in our lab only. I just took an example. This is very interesting. So in molecular dynamics, what we do is, there are atoms which are interacting. And we assume, nobody knows what laws it follows, but we assume it follows Newton's law. And we calculate what the force they are applying each other and how it evolves with time. So it is governed by some local interaction. But what is done is, it's very interesting, because we cannot simulate the environment in molecular dynamics, so we do in a very different way. Science does not have any scope of top-down law. It is just in simulation. But you can get a very good idea from there. What we do is that we have a classical molecular dynamic model which looks at the world as a collection of atoms, and there is a thermodynamic kind of model where a macroscopic model where how my temperature